Welcome to the Voice of Change, where advocacy meets action. I'm your host, Linda, a dedicated community leader, a voice for the voiceless. Join me as we explore the stories and strategies that shape our local and global communities while inspiring positive change. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram at Linda Advocate and follow my blog at the Times of Israel, where my articles consistently end with calls to action to encourage the readers to participate in constructive change. So, the last few shows, we focused on amplifying stories and issues that shed light on the struggles and triumphs and narratives that shape our world. And today is no different. We continue that mission by exploring the impactful work of individuals who courageously stand up for what they believe in. And with that, I'd like to introduce our very special guest, Dr. Sheila Nazarian. It's a name that no doubt many of you will recognize from her popular Netflix show, Skin Decisions, but her impact extends far beyond the realm of plastic surgery or entertainment. Sheila stands out as a true humanitarian, deeply involved in the crucial fight against online hatred. Welcome, Sheila.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. I must say, when you first emerged on the Instagram scene, I remember being struck by a profound sense of admiration, curiosity. I mean, here was this woman without hesitation raising your voice for Israel, for the Jewish people, undeterred by the potential risks involved. And your fearless approach to advocacy, your unwavering commitment to speak out despite the challenges that you might, that might catch on. I have to ask you, what is it about your formative years that shaped who you've become?
Well, my family came to America in 1979 while my mother was 9 months pregnant with me, just so that I would be a citizen. And
Wow.
about a month after I was born, we went back to Iran. That was 1979, the year of the Iranian Revolution, when the Shah was overthrown and the Islamic Republic came into power. The Iran-Iraq War started in 1980. There was literal bombs flying into Iran, very similar to the, images you see in Israel right now with the missiles from Gaza coming in, and sirens would go off in the middle of the night. We would run to the window to watch, what my parents told us were fireworks. My dad and mom could very quickly see the changes in society that made it very clear that there was no future for their two daughters in that country. And I think the whole world has become acutely aware of what women in Iran have to suffer and endure. And so they decided it was necessary to escape. My dad flew to Vienna saying he was going on a medical conference. He left the passports of my mother, my sister, and I with the government. They let him go. And one day my mom took me and my sister to the bazaar, and we got into the back of this car with a bunch of strangers in the fetal position on the floor of the back of this vehicle. And they put burlap sacks on top of us and corn and hid us. And that is how we made our way towards Pakistan with smugglers. When we had a little bathroom break, which was basically in this little hut that was a hole in the ground, my mom told me we were going to America, and that's the first I'd heard of it. And we spent one night in the desert with the smugglers and the other people that were also being smuggled out. At like 2 a.m, the border police saw us and started shooting. And so we all got into the back of this pickup truck, and the smugglers pressed on the gas, and we were able to evade the border police and make it into Pakistan. So we're still separated from my father at this point. And the reason why my mother did it by herself without my dad is because if we would have been caught, both of my parents would have gone to jail, and essentially my sister and I would have been orphaned. And so my dad left and let my mom, do the escape, because if we were caught, my mom would go to jail. My dad would say, oh, she did it by herself, I didn't know. And then at least we would have one parent to have custody over us. So we made it into Pakistan, and we were in Pakistan for 3 months waiting for visas. My dad was actively working in Vienna with the embassy to try to get us visas to get us out of Pakistan. Finally, after 3 months, we reunited with my father. Wow. And we were in Vienna for another 3 months waiting for visas to make it to the US, which we finally did. When I was in Pakistan, I was probably 6.5 years old, 7 years old. And, we were staying in this hotel and we would go to the lobby. There was weddings happening in the hotel. And this woman looked down on me and she said, are you Jewish? And I said, yes. And she spit in my face. So that was really the first time that I experienced personally Jew hatred. Um, and, I didn't think about it very much, but certainly in the US now, as I'm seeing and have been seeing for at least a decade or two, what's been happening on college campuses as far as students not feeling safe, Jewish students having to hide their Judaism, about 50% hide their Jewish identity. I just started realizing about 4 years ago when my daughter was applying to high schools that she was very close to having to go to college. And this is what was her experience going to be like. Is she going to have to hide what she thinks and her identity? And so I started speaking up. I started just saying hashtag Shabbat Shalom on Friday. And I was scared because in Iran, you didn't say you were Jewish. You would go as far as to change your last name to not sound Jewish. You would never hang a mezuzah on your door. You wouldn't put a cardboard cutout of a menorah on your gate.
Is that how the Jews in Iran are currently living right now?
Yes.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, that's all very traumatic, but was October 7th the defining moment or the event that solidified your commitment to advocate for Israel on a different level, or was it prior to that?
No, way prior to that. I
Really?
started advocating about 4 years ago when they tried to take the Holocaust education out of the California ethnic studies public school system curriculum. About 4 years ago. And in May of 2021, I went crazy on my Instagram. I lost, I think, 3,000 followers in the first 30 minutes of my first post in support of Israel. And my
How
entire
many followers did you lose? Say that again?
3,000 in 30 minutes.
Wow.
But I just kept going and I said, you know what? I gained all these followers. If I can't stand up for my people, what is it good for? I can't be fake. It's like I'm allergic to fakeness. And so I just kept going. I lost probably overall 110,000 followers back then. And October 7th, again, I started speaking up, but this time it feels a lot less lonely on social media. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of the Jews woke up. It's so funny that, I just did another podcast right before this one, and this girl was like, yeah, why did it take October 7th for the world to wake up? I'm like, why did it take October 7th for you to wake up?
Exactly.
And she's like,
Correct.
good point. So
Yeah.
we can't criticize non-Jews for not speaking up for us when we weren't even speaking up for us, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not in that category, I have to say. I've been speaking up since
I know you have.
1992 when my brother's best friend was killed by Hamas, so that's a different story. But other than the loss of followers, do you have other negative ramifications that have affected you personally or professionally?
Yeah, I mean, there's Yelp reviews, but Yelp takes them off. They're very helpful with that. There's been some Google reviews. I work for myself, so I can say whatever I want. I know not everybody has that advantage. But still, I mean, it's kind of like what matters more to you, survival or, you know, your I don't know. I don't know. For me, survival comes number one, and the future of my people and my children's lives comes number one. So
Of
I
course.
was willing to literally lose my entire practice. I said, you know what, if that's what happens, I did it, I proved myself, and so be it. But actually, the opposite happened. My patients are so grateful. They know who I am. They trust me because I'm honest and I'm transparent with my thoughts. And it hasn't hurt my business at all. But I will tell you, that's not what I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to hurt my business. Other than that, there's been some threats. I think in 2021, somebody from New Jersey sent me a rotted pig's hoof to my
Oh my
office.
gosh.
But it's okay. It's empowered me to be stronger. I'm armed. I always carry. And I have my license to carry in 31 states. I train often.
Yeah.
And I encourage other people to do the same. I never thought that would be me. I literally wouldn't even let my kids play shooting video games online. And now I'm
Really?
like caring. So,
Wow. How has
um,
it affected your children? I mean, did they know that that came to your house and how did they react
no, it didn't come to my house, it actually came to my office.
at your office?
Um, but you know, they're very strong. My kids listen, they stand up if their teacher says something inaccurate. They're very educated on the topic. And they get positive feedback too. So I know one of my son's teachers said something and he stood up and he said, actually, that's not true. These are the facts. And then like the hottest girl in his grade started clapping for him. So he was like, you know, very positively reinforced. Um, my kids stand up for what they believe and they're not afraid to
Well,
say
they learn by example.
well, you know, you don't always know, right? Because they'll come back and be like, "Mom, you're so embarrassing," or like, you know, whatever. But they're paying attention and they're learning.
Let me ask you, has your activism impacted your relationship with Netflix and individuals associated with your projects on their platform?
Not at all. Actually, I will tell you that the most beautiful opportunities have come my way because people want to amplify the truth, not
That's
my
amazing.
truth, the truth.
The truth. Yep.
And actually, I'm pitching a new show to 3 different networks in the next 2 weeks. And that opportunity probably wouldn't have come as easily without the help of people who respect what I'm doing and want to amplify my reach.
That's amazing. Well, we have our eye on you. We think you're going to go very far, and we support that. Speaking of support, have you encountered support from unexpected quarters or experienced support from people that you just like, you were amazed? Like, what, how did that even happen? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've been very happily, not surprised, but just reinforced that there, you know, every community, Linda, is a wide range of thoughts. I feel like so much of what has happened in the thought process of this country is that everything is very binary. You either fit into this box or that box. You're either with us or you're not with us.
Mhm.
And I have been very happily reinforced to see many people from all different skin colors and religions and voting patterns and sexual orientations give me so much support and say, thank God you exist. And at the flip side, I'll say, you know, I am uniquely positioned to be able to say what everyone's thinking because I am an immigrant, I am female, I am self-made. I didn't speak English when I came to this country at all, zero. And I'm brown. So
Right.
I think that, you know, I'm able and uniquely positioned to say things that maybe other people wouldn't feel comfortable saying. And also, I'm speaking outside of our own echo chamber because of my social media following and the Netflix show. People came in not because of Israel advocacy or Jewish advocacy. They came in because of beauty or, you know, information about plastic surgery and procedures and devices and skincare. And then I'm able to speak to them and they're able to hear a different side of the story and hopefully encourage them to go open a book and learn for themselves and maybe not get all of their information from social media.
Can you share a success story or a particularly rewarding experience from your activism?
Sure. I mean, I get messages all the time of people being like, thank you for, you know, saying the other side of the story. I actually went and looked it up for myself, and I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for you. I would say during the war, I had young girls in bomb shelters in Israel's messaging me saying, you're the only light I see.
Wow.
So no, it's been, you know, Linda, it's been extremely purposeful. It's been extremely rewarding. It has been such a, I don't know, legacy to be able to stand up for our people. I can't speak highly of it enough. And it, you know, it didn't come without fear. I wasn't born courageous. I think it came out of a survival mode, a gut instinct, that this is something I had to do, even though everybody around me was like, "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" My own family, fearful. But what I've realized is God rewards the authentic, and God rewards truth tellers, and that this really is a fight between good and evil, and that we have to speak up and do God's work, on the side of good.
100%. Can you tell us a little of what you think is the most effective strategy in promoting a positive image for Israel internationally?
I think, Linda, eh, I think that that's the wrong way to think about it. I think that you assume that people aren't anti-Semitic. It is not our job to prove to people like us, please like us. We'll come to
Mhm.
Turkey and we'll help your earthquake survivors so that you like us. We'll come to your anti-Semitic country, and help and do humanitarian
Which
work so
Israel has done
which
perpetually.
they've
It's
done.
done
Did it
nothing.
work? Did it
Yeah,
work? Has it worked?
unfortunately not.
Has it worked?
No.
No. So we need to help ourselves at this point. Like you can't, the people who like us are going to like us. The people who don't like us likely were raised with anti-Semitism in their family at the dinner table, just like we did in Iran. I lived that. I know what's happening. There's enough testimony coming out of Iran right now after the, Zan Zendegi Azadi movement, that the
Sorry,
uprising
what is that
have
movement? Can
brought.
you say that slowly? So that
It means women, life, freedom. All the
oh,
movement that happened, after Masa Amini was murdered in Iran, by their morality police. There's enough testimony coming out now from moderate Muslims that are suffering under the same Islamist mentality that the Jews have been suffering under in the Middle East for a very, very long time, and Christians in Africa as well, by the way. Um, there's enough of that coming out from the Muslim community themselves at this point that it makes it much more acceptable to do what we all should have been doing all along, which is to call out the humanitarian violations of these radicalized Islamic regimes. And to fail to do so is to fail to make the correct diagnosis, and is to fail to eventually apply the correct treatment for this disease of anti-Semitism. So there's so much testimony now coming out of Gaza, and so much evidence, video evidence, curriculum evidence, that their math curriculum is around dead Jews. For example, if you have 5 Jews, you kill 3 of them, how many are left? Their physics curriculum revolves around missiles into Israel. There is testimony out of people who have left Gaza that say, in the morning when we got to elementary school, we would start our day by walking outside with our teacher, throwing stones, and then walking back in and then beginning our curriculum, much of which had killing Jews involved in the problem solving. Like, we have to address these things. And this whole idea of a two-state solution at this point, you're taking people who want dead Jews and the annihilation of Israel, and it's their identity and it's their story of their people that they have been taught since they were born. And you are telling them, we're going to deny your identity and force you into a two-state. We're going to force you to acknowledge that Israel has a right to exist. They're not ready. Like, what delusional world are these Americans living in?
so I think Biden has his eye on Michigan right now. I
For
think that's what it's
sure. Oh, for
about.
sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
and quite frankly, what they're doing is rewarding rapists, killers, hostage takers by even promoting this idea. It's absolutely absurd. It's
It's not
offensive.
just absurd, it's just skipping a bunch of steps.
Yeah.
It's almost like, after World War II, we had to de-radicalize the Nazi youth. I know after Islamic Brotherhood was ousted from Egypt, there was a lot of curriculum in the Egyptian elementary schools, like what is a Jew? Multiple choice, A,
Yeah,
devil, B, vermin, C, or D, all of the above. Like this stuff has to be removed. A de-radicalization first has to be made.
of course.
Then a desire to thrive economically has to be presented, and a possibility to thrive economically to the Palestinian people. And this is work that has to happen over many years. Then when they're at the point that oh, Jews aren't bad, Jews aren't responsible for every failure in our
Right.
world, then and only then will they be ready for a two-state.
Let me ask you, speaking to the Persian community, I have an interview upcoming with Lily Moo. I don't know her
Yeah.
actual, I forget her actual name. It's a little complicated. Perhaps,
Yes.
you
Tell her I
but
say hello.
I, but I think she's indicative of a lot of the way a lot of Persian people think that are not Jewish. I don't understand that. Can you explain it to me?
Absolutely. So when everything that was happening and there were, protesting in Iran and trying to overthrow this regime that has been suffocating them for 40 years, a lot of the Persian Jews that left Iran were ambivalent. We said, what did you expect? You overthrew
Yeah.
the Shah, you kicked out your Jews, you made your bed, sleep in it. This is the result of the mistakes of your parents. And I think that the youth of Iran have recognized this. And I've spoken to them, and they said when they were killing and aggressive towards Jews, we said, we're not Jewish. Why should we care? When they did the same to the Baha'is, they said, we're not Baha'i. So why should we care? And they apologized. Prominent figures apologized. And they said, we're sorry that when they came for the Jews, we did nothing. But when Mahsa Amini was killed by the morality police, they said, we are all Mahsa. And then
Mhm.
they've started to care. Okay. So I just went to an event with the Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. And the first question that was brought to him is, how are the people of Iran feeling about Islam? And he responded that 90% at this point just believe in God and no organized religion anymore. This is what this radical Islamic ideology and aggression on the ground and in their real lives have led them to. And so I think that they are finally realizing that what Israel is suffering from, what the Jewish people have suffered from, what the Christians in Northern Africa are suffering from, is the same Islamist, radical Islamic ideology that is a way of life. And so they feel that they have to stand up for Israel now. I've seen so many, protests where they have the Israeli flag connected to the old flag of Iran.
Yeah, it's
And they're
unbelievable.
marching together because you know what? The only people that stood up for them on social media when it was this women's revolution happening were Israelis and Jews.
Yeah, that's a thing of beauty. But you don't see that with the woke community. You don't see that with the BLMers. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'll tell you exactly why. So this DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, beautiful words, love diversity, love inclusion, love equal opportunity, not equal outcomes, because that's just not realistic. Equal opportunity are beautiful words, but unfortunately, they were co-opted by the CRT movement with this oppressed versus oppressor binary and this categorization of Jews as white oppressors, oppressing the brown Palestinians. And as you know, I'm a brown Jew. There's black Jews. Unfortunately, a black IDF soldier was murdered, just 2 days ago in Israel. And this sort of binary and categorizing Jews as white oppressors has led to the justification of rape of Jews, the murder of Jews, because the oppressed are rising up against the oppressor. This is the language of DEI. Now, I've been on the phone nonstop trying to explain to people that at this point, DEI, that acronym, not the words that make it, but the acronym itself has become like a gut punch to Jews. It is no longer an acronym we can work with. We have been excluded. It has led to racism against Jews on college campuses. And this acronym needs to evolve into a truly inclusive phase, which I have proposed the acronym DETAIL, which is diversity of thought and life experience.
Oh, I love that.
So and I've written on it, and I'm going to have 2 more articles coming out this week on it, and I'm writing a book on it.
Articles.
Yeah, so the first article was in the Jewish Journal, and 2 more articles will be coming out this week. I'll let you know.
Yes.
And DETAIL is diversity of thought. We need to bring conversations back. We need to bring people together of different mentality to have debate and nuanced conversations again. Not, oh, you question DEI, therefore you're a racist and you should shut up. Or you have whiteness or proximity to whiteness, and therefore your opinion no longer counts. And by the way, you should apologize for being white. So, diversity of thought is the first part of DETAIL. Life experience, diversity of life experience is the second part, meaning everyone's life experience and the lens through which they see the world has value and should be listened to. For example, my life experience is escaping from Iran. My life experience is coming to this country, not speaking this language, but through hard work, talent, and grit, achieving success. DEI people would call that privileged. I call it success and grit and inspirational.
Meritocracy, God
Right?
forbid.
Now,
Yeah.
let's say I was lighter skinned and I had that story. When applying to colleges, would I be given an equal chance as a Black basketball player's child who grew up in this country with 25 tutors and the best private school education? Does DEI value adversity and hardships equally? Would I have an equal chance if I was lighter skinned? So these are the ways that DEI fails. And again, like I said, DEI has become a very anger-provoking, exclusionary acronym at this point that the Jewish population can no longer work within. I interviewed Dr. Tabia Lee, who was a DEI professor on my podcast, The Closet, recently. And she was ousted from her community college in California for trying to include anti-Semitism work within their DEI framework. She was actually kicked out. And she's Black. So, and there's many of these people that I've been speaking to, Black DEI professors with doctorates working in the diversity space for decades who have received backlash for trying to include Jews within their DEI work. And so again, we need another alternative. We need an evolution of that acronym that we can all feel we can really back. And that's why instead of just being like, get rid of DEI, I've come up with DETAIL as a valid and a much more inclusive alternative without all of the bad connotations and baggage that the acronym DEI currently has.
Are you hopeful?
Yeah, I'm going to make it happen.
I believe in you.
In motion. It's already happening.
I believe in you. Sheila, I can literally talk to you forever, but I don't want to monopolize your time. So before we conclude, I just want to wish you safety and continued success in all your endeavors. Your bravery and your activism are just commendable. And it's clear to see that your journey really has just begun. And I encourage everyone to explore your remarkable series and, of course, all your platforms. If you'd like to share your social media handles and anything else, please feel free.
Sure. So my YouTube channel is Nazarian Plastic Surgery. My podcast is The Closet Podcast. On Instagram, I'm mostly politically active on Dr. Sheila Nazarian, but I also have The Model Surgeon if you want to watch live surgery, Spa 26 for spa treatments, Nazarian Skin for my skincare line, and The Skin Spot for my online e-commerce site.
Amazing, amazing. Dr. Nazarian, your work is a testament to the difference that one determined voice can make in the world. And I hope that we'll have the opportunity to meet in person. And of course, I extend an invitation to you if you end up coming to New York.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Thank you.